All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Arnell Pierre-Louis. I am the content marketing writer here at RepCap and managing editor. And I'm so excited to welcome you guys to Content Therapy Live with the content therapist himself, Paul Chaney. You want to introduce yourself, Paul?
Hi, everybody. Yep, I'm Paul Chaney, the content therapist. I love that term. Just a quick background about me. I do content marketing, and these days it's mostly writing and editing in a B2B kind of world. But I've got quite a number of years of experience under my belt doing digital marketing and heavy focus on content. So maybe that qualifies me to be the therapist. And oh, by the way, just so you know, because we're live and of course I'm working from home. If you hear a little dog bark in the background, there's not a whole lot I can do about that right now. Just kind of put that out of your mind if you can. It's our little dog, and my wife is gone, and so there we go. That's the reality. So,
Yeah, things happen, but it's, you know what? It might be good feedback. Who
well,
knows? Maybe.
I could bring her in here and just hold her up, but she's still the show. She's cute. That's pretty
She's going
much
to
what
be a part.
everybody says.
She'll be a part of our conversation about AI. She'll have her own input for that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So, if you were a part of the Managing Editor Live Fall Summit, then and joined us in our session, welcome back. If you are new, the Content Therapy Advice column started as a refuge for content marketers looking for some perspective on challenges they are facing in their careers. Our monthly column has covered many topics from tackling the copywriter and content marketer debate and whether the client is always right mindset applies to every situation. And now we're taking the column live every month to talk through the latest columns and answers any questions that you may have. But a quick disclaimer before we begin. Like we said, Paul isn't a real therapist, although he does have experience working as a mental health therapist a couple of years ago. But he
More
is
than a
just
couple,
very
but anyway.
we're gonna say a couple of years ago.
You said a couple,
But
more than a couple, but anyway, yeah. Back in the day, I did work in the mental health field and did some therapy kind of stuff. So that was mostly for
today
me. I was trying to fix me. That's what it was.
But today we are here to help you guys. So Paul is very knowledgeable about all things content marketing, has been in the industry for years and is so awesome. So are you ready to get started, Paul?
I am. Don't make me sound too old, okay?
Oh, I'm
Anyway.
sorry. You know, he's only been here, he's new, he's evergreen. It's
That's
not
right. I'm right. Exactly. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good. I own it. So I'm ready when
so
you are.
today
Yeah.
well, let's get started. So we're going to start in on our latest article. And the first topic is a question that I feel like many content marketers have been having recently. And it's basically, is AI trying to replace us? So let me read I have the notes right down here. So the question reads, Dear content therapist, I've been a content marketing writer for the past decade, and I've had the pleasure of seeing the field of evolution from user friendly content creation platforms to scheduling programs. I've accepted these new tools and the value they've added to my team. However, the AI writing tools have spooked me about my future. I've heard of these tools and seen the success they've had, but if they can do my job, what does that mean for my job security and potential future opportunities? Should I be worried about implementing this new tool, or is this an opportunity I'm not seeing now? And that
Uh,
is from the Human Content Writer.
okay. Well, obviously one of the tools that is, taking center stage right now is Chat GPT. So we're just going to say that's the one we're talking about. And I think there are other tools out there that may have built on to Chat GPT's technology. I'm not too technically savvy where that's concerned, but there are other tools out there. But I use the word tools purposefully because that's what this is. It's a tool. Now, we've been using AI kind of inspired or related technology tools for some time. Grammarly is one. I guess you could say that's AI related. It provides suggestions and corrections and ideas for you to use. Sometimes you kind of scratch your head as to why it's making a particular suggestion, but we've been using that. We haven't been too worried about it. I depend on it. I'm using other tools that might fall under that same category for, plagiarism purposes or paraphrasing purposes and things like that. But this is a higher order animal, so to speak, right? It seems to be smarter. It can do things for us that those others haven't necessarily been able to do. So should we be worried? I'll put it this way. I think content mills should be worried. I don't think if you're a seasoned writer who, like you said, the questioner had 10 years of experience, someone with experience under your belt, I don't think you necessarily need to be worried. What I think you need to be doing is learning these tools, learning how to take advantage of them, and the benefits that they have to offer, whether it's Grammarly or Chat GPT or something else. And they're only going to get better, of course, and use them to your advantage, because the one thing they're not is human. I had the opportunity. I've got a client I'm working with. They are in the tech space, in the customer experience or customer service industry, and they provide a technology that is an AI technology. And I was interviewing yesterday, the head of that, of the whole AI sort of department, if you would. And, we had a great conversation. I asked him that very question. And basically he said, maybe down the road, but certainly not yet. And one conclusion that we made, where he and I together made, where this is concerned, is that, these things aren't sentient. They don't have a soul. They can't think for themselves. They've been trained on a massive catalog of content, but it's still a finite catalog of content. And that's what they know. Take the human. We have a personality. We've got life experiences that we can bring to bear. We've got a voice. There's unique aspects of who we are that those machines cannot replicate. We can make decisions and judgments about things that those machines cannot. And if you don't mind, let me throw in real quickly. This is something Ann Handley, and everybody knows Ann Handley, this is something she wrote in reference to this whole AI thing. And she's basically juxtapositioning AI writing with a typewriter. She talks about her typewriter for a minute, but I'm going to jump down to the part where she's talking about, AI writing. And she says this: the promise of the ease, quote unquote, of AI writing is a false trap. Sure, it's fun to play around with Chat GPT, the infant iteration, notice how she phrases that, of an AI writing tool. It's fun to learn how to best prompt it to get decent results. But the turquoise blue Sperry Rand Remington 1040 typewriter is a good reminder of two things. And these are very important things that she says. Number one, writing is a full body contact sport. You need to participate fully, your brain, your hands, your personality, your voice, all of it. We writers can't passively sit back and let AI write for us. The way to use the power of AI is how a gymnast uses a coach and a spotter, as a way to help you create with more confidence. And then she says, the advent of AI makes one thing really clear to me. This is so important. Your relationship to your audience matters more than ever. And I think that is such a key thing. I mean, one of the critical aspects, the essentials related to content marketing, is our knowledge of our audience. The better we know who we're writing for or creating content for, whatever media we may be using, the better we can do it, right? Well, I think that too is something unique to humans. So to kind of wrap this up, in a sense, I think learn how to use it. Take advantage of all the benefits that it and others like it provide to make you a better writer. But don't sit in fear that one day this thing is going to take place of you. Like I said, okay, if you're in a content mill, maybe that's a different thing because it's more quantity than quality there, in my impression anyway. But if you're a seasoned writer, you have experience under your belt, you've got a voice, you've got a personality, you've got something to bring to the table that those machines do not. And I say, put your confidence there. Use them to your benefit, take advantage of them, but don't be put off by them.
I love that answer, and I completely agree. And I do want to touch on because you brought up a very important aspect to this entire debate and this topic, where in AI, the AI isn't human. And for from what I have learned about AI is AI is producing content that us humans have put into it. So the
Mm-hmm.
collective content, it has been written by humans. It's been written by content marketers just like you and me, and it's been the content that it's receiving is from humans. So even
Mm-hmm.
though with AI, there people are worried about it taking its job, I don't think people are also paying attention to the fact that AI is still has its own flaws,
Yeah, oh,
like you said.
absolutely. Absolutely. And what is its superpower? I put this in the article. It is the ability to take that information, that library that it has available to it, to spit out content quickly, um, and efficiently. That's its superpower. And, you know, okay, so you prompt it to write a 300 word blog post. Well, let's just say 800-word blog post about a particular topic. And the better the prompt, the better the content that it's going to spit out. But it's still, in my estimation, the best that it does is maybe a good first draft. And let
Yeah.
me add this to the equation here. I think it will, over time and maybe sooner than later, cause there to be a bit of a shift in roles for us, where we're not just writers. Maybe we take on more of an sort of an editorial function, where we take that piece of content that it gives us and we improve on it. We add our voice. We add specifics. We fact check to make sure everything is done right. We make sure that it's well done from a grammar perspective and all of that. So there is a blend of using the technology and still, the human aspect of this. And I think also, and I haven't really processed this fully yet, so I'm just going to throw it out there. I think maybe it causes us to step into more of a sort of a strategist role where things concern. Like I said, I haven't really processed that too much, but I'm reading, people talking about that. So, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Good content marketing strategy is a vital function. So if that's the role we sort of morph into, then there's nothing wrong with that either. So think about maybe changing roles. But again, I go back to where it is right now. And again, the head of AI for this tech company says, no, it's not going to replace us. And it has. Let me just say this too. The whole, even just Chat GPT has so much uh, bearing on not just writing, but how about programming? You can put in prompts to write code and things like that. So that's another field. The field of customer experience, where this guy hangs his hat. It's entering that as well in a pretty potent way. So it's there. Take advantage of it. Don't go hide in a corner in fear, right?
Yeah. I think I do think some of the fear could come from, if you look at media and just like in general how people view like technologies like this, it's more so they're like, okay, how is this going to take over? Like, are the robots doing an uprising? There are no robot uprisings, guys. Seriously, not happening. It's it's not happening.
I don't know. I read this dystopian novel where they did take over, but that was in, I think that was in 2025 or something. So we got a couple of years to worry about.
Oh, we can't scare people. We're trying to reassure them. But here's the thing. With AI, you are 100% right. There's still a lot of flaws, and we as AI still needs content marketers. The AI is supposed to be there to help us do our jobs even better. Um, do I
Yeah.
believe like we will get to a point where AI is able to like factor in emotions and grammar and all these different things? I'm not sure, because that's also something that's an input from the human perspective. Because if you think about it, in any businesses that think that, okay, we have this AI tool, we don't need content marketers, you also have to think about, you're having an AI tool write a piece of content that is more so black and white versus adapting to a world that's in gray. It
That's
doesn't work
exactly
that
right. No,
well.
and knowing your audience too. I mean, it doesn't know your audience like you know
Mhm.
your audience. You know who your customer is, that persona that you're trying to really speak to. You know, I don't think it can do that nearly as well as we can.
Yeah, it definitely it's an added benefit. It is a value. Like even us at RepCap Managing Other, we use AI. AI has been a great help to a lot of our content and helping with our projects. And it's making us better content marketers to see where we can improve, what can we use more of, what can we use less of. So I do believe that AI it's not taking over our jobs. It's not. It's not going to be an iRobot situation. If anybody has seen that movie, it's not going to be that, or a Marvel Jarvis. I mean, it would be cool if it was Jarvis, but it's not. But I do believe, like Paul said, AI is here to help add value to what we're doing right now. It's not the enemy. It
Yeah.
is
Now,
a friend.
let me also say, you know, will some companies go, "Hey, we'll just use that for our writing"? Well, maybe they will, but to their own hurt, in my opinion, because you know it's going to produce maybe a decent first draft.
Yeah.
But if you leave it at that, I just think that you're taking advantage of one part of this equation and not the other, and
Yes.
you need both high tech and high touch, the
Yeah.
human and the machine. Why not?
Living in perfect harmony. I love that. So,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
actually move on. Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm ready for the second question.
So we're gonna move on to our next question, and we're gonna pivot a little bit. I know we want to talk all about AI, and there's so much that we can talk about AI, but we are gonna pivot because we did have another person write in with a certain thing that they were struggling with, which personally I've also struggled with, and that's talking about personal branding. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that there are many people out there, whether you are new to content marketing or even some seasoned professionals where building your personal brand on LinkedIn, social, any type of social media platform, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to find that direction. So this person wrote in and said, "Dear content therapist, I am on the hunt for a new position. I've been a content marketer for my current employer for the last 2 years, and I'm ready for a new challenge. I want to explore other industries to apply what I've learned from my current role. However, I'm still unsure what my personal brand is in the 2 years I've been working. I'm still relatively new to the content marketing field, but with many people making their way into content marketing and new AI writing tools hitting the scene, how can I set myself apart from the noise? How can I establish my personal brand that helps me stand out?" And this comes from a marketer without a brand.
Well, as I said in my response, you know, the person doesn't, you know, they don't know their personal brand because they haven't been working on it, because they've been working on building their company brand, right? As it should be. And I would say this, if you think about building a personal brand while you're working for a company and your job is to build the company brand, then those two can come into conflict. Now, how do I know that? Because I had that very experience after writing one of the books I wrote. You know, I got some speaking engagement opportunities, things like that. And so I was gone some of the time. What was I doing? I was building the Paul Chaney brand because I needed to sell some books, right? And it caused a problem with the company that I was working for as the marketing director. And I eventually had to my conscience basically said, you either have to give up on the one or, you know, to embrace the other, or vice versa. So I felt in good conscience the only thing I could do was to resign from the company, and I did. It was all, you know, everything was good, but there was no way I can continue trying to build a personal brand while I was trying to build that company brand at the same time. I was hoping the one might influence the other positively. Didn't necessarily work out that way. That being said, this person is looking for a new job, so I'm going to let that be sort of the caveat there and say that that's fine. So how can they go about building a personal brand or discovering what that brand ought to be? There's a little technique, if you want to, therapeutic technique, if you want to use that term, that I've used in various ways in the past. And it's basically 3 questions. And here's the 3 questions. They are, what do you want for you? What do you want for yourself? How do you feel about what you want? And what are you doing to get what you want? Now, think about that for just a minute. What do you want for yourself? That's sort of the cognitive aspect, okay? How do you feel about what you want? That touches on the emotional aspect. And then what are you doing to get what you want is the volitional aspect of this thing. Now, what are those 3 questions going to do? They're going to cause you to step back and really think. They're going to probe your thinking and feelings about this direction that maybe you're not clear on yet. But here's the other side of the exercise that really makes it very workable, I think. And that's this. You got those 3 questions, right? You don't just ask them once. You ask them in 3 sets, the same set of question 3 different times. And each time you ask a given question, you have to give a different answer. And I don't know is not an answer. Now, what does that make you do? That makes you move beyond the sort of the top of mind or just the feeling aspect of it, if you would. The felt need is the term I was actually looking for, down to really getting down to, really the brass tacks of what is it I really want? What direction do I really want to take? It makes you work on that. And then finally, hopefully by the end of those 3 times, you have a much clearer direction where you want to go and what you want to do. Now, okay, so maybe you've got some clarity now after you've done this little exercise. What next? I suggest this. If you've got an idea about where you want to go, start learning everything you can about it. And one of the best ways to do that is to create content. And I like the idea of starting a blog where you laser focus in on that particular area that you want to go. You're learning all about that industry or that topic or whatever it may be, and you start writing about it. I remember years ago, someone said that if you write about something long enough, 6 months, I think she said, you'll become an expert at it. Now, maybe not rocket science or brain surgery, but it's a good start for a lot of topics. And I know, again, kind of based on my own experience, when I first started blogging about the business of blogging and the business benefits of blogging, it wasn't long before people started calling me asking for help. So yeah, it can work out that way. All right. Well, you start creating content focused on that area where you believe that you want to go. And then you start sharing what you've written on social networks, for one, maybe other places as well. LinkedIn, obviously, if it's a B2B kind of thing, LinkedIn is a perfect place, but you don't stop there either. You start networking with people who are already in that industry or in that sector who are talking about that topic. And if you can find people who have a decent sphere of influence, and you can start maybe commenting, leaving comments, liking their stuff, sharing their posts, maybe in a piece of content you've written, reference something they wrote and let them know about it. Some people might reciprocate, and that's a good thing, because if they've got a degree of influence and they're pointing, in the direction of you, that's only going to benefit you. And all of that is a process that I believe it's not an epiphany that you're going to have necessarily, right? It's not an aha moment. It is a process over time where you gain more and more clarity. And even the idea of writing consistently about this thing is going to help you as well. It's going to refine your focus. It's going to help you define that niche maybe that you're really trying to look for. So just to kind of sum up, use that little exercise of those 3 questions. What do you want for yourself? What do you want for you is how I put it. How do you feel about what you want? What are you doing to get what you want? Then ask that 3 different times, giving a different answer each time. I don't know is not an answer. That's going to help you get some clarity. And once you get clarity, what do? You start getting as much knowledge about that, whatever it is that you can. You start creating content around that knowledge. That will help you. Then you share that knowledge with others. And then you network and you build relationships with, relevant folks, subject matter experts, people who you would, in that particular industry would say is an influencer. I kind of hate using that term, actually. I think it it's a bit trite, but still there are obviously industry influencers that it would make sense to connect with. And then over time, you'll begin to see that that personal brand just begins to become self-evident. And that can help you as you try to step into a new role. Or you know what? The other side of the equation is you may say, hey, this, Paul Chaney brand, this Jane Smith brand, I kind of like it. I'm going to go with that. So, there's janesmith.com, and you just keep moving in that direction. But for me, that's how you do it. AI aside, that's how you go about building that personal brand.
So what advice, so this is for somebody who's just in a way starting to build their brand. What advice would you have for somebody who has been a marketer for a couple of years now and hasn't really worked on their brand, and they're looking to cultivate, or are they looking to rebrand themselves currently, but not without, like, they want to rebrand themselves, but they want to stay with their current company. They want to still be with their current company because they believe in it, but they are looking to rebrand who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is some, gray area or wiggle room or whatever you want to say, excuse me, where that's concerned. As long as you don't allow it to become, to come into conflict with building the brand for the company you're working for, because that's got to be, primary. Obviously, they're the one paying your salary. But I think what you can do, and I think maybe this is I think maybe this is where you can focus. You do it as a representative of the company. In other words, you always identify yourself with the company. I am the, product marketer for XYZ Corp or whatever it may be. And that's how you are identified. But you do step out a little bit on your own. Maybe you do start creating content on your own blog, for example. I remember years ago, a guy that probably a lot of folks would recognize his name, a guy named Robert Scoble. Robert was one of those first people. He was working for Microsoft. I can't remember exactly in what arena, but he began to step out, on his own, really as a representative of that particular division of Microsoft. He was always identified with it. Eventually that led on to other opportunities for him. So he ended up leaving Microsoft, but that seemed to work pretty well as far as at least looking from the outside in, because he wasn't trying to build a brand separate and apart from his relationship to the company he worked for. So I think that's certainly a way to go about it. It's a step in the direction that eventually maybe it does lead to you stepping out fully, but that's a small step you could take.
Okay. I like that, because I do feel like in content marketing, especially today, branding is very important. With the rise in new technology, new processes, and even just the way that we are connecting with each other. A lot of people are connecting through people's brands, whether it's seeing an article or a contributing article, or maybe even a podcast interview or a LinkedIn Live like we're on right now. It's definitely very important. And as, I guess, someone who is more very, very, still very new to content marketing, that is something that I can take to heart. And I know a lot of people who are either new, whether it's a career change or graduating high school, they can also take.
Well, I mean, let's take this, our own example here. I mean, I am labeled the content therapist, but I'm not going to go hang out a shield on my own, Paul Chaney, content therapist. It's always in relationship to managing editor magazine, right? That's the only way that works. And so that is a bit of personal branding in league, in league with the company. I think, I mentioned Ann Hanley's name a moment ago. I think she's a pristine example of someone who's built a strong personal brand, does a lot on her own, written those phenomenal books and everything, but yet she's still associated with marketing profs. And there's no, her building that personal brand in that case has, I think, had a positive benefit and effect on marketing profs. It's
Yeah.
certainly shined a lot of light on marketing profs and pointed a lot of people in that direction. And I don't think she's ever tried to um, present herself necessarily in any other way than through her connection, or at least that's one component. I'll put it that way. Her connection to marketing profs. So if you're looking for an ideal example of a person who successfully made that transition in personal branding, certainly Anne. But I will tell you, having known Anne for many, many years, it reinforces what I said about it's a process.
Yeah.
She didn't just step into this, again, center stage with the spotlight shining on her all of a sudden. It was a long, gradual process over time. And, but she kept pursuing it. And that, I think maybe that's another part of this formula, if you would. You just keep taking those steps. You keep pursuing it, and just, over time, see what happens. Right.
That's true, because like everything in content marketing, you have to be consistent, and you also have to make sure you're putting out the content. Like you have to be a little bit repetitive in order to get people to get the message. And the same applies to your personal branding. You have to be a little repetitive, even if you think people are going to be sick of seeing it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to be identified. I think that's part of my problem over the years is I never really landed on one thing or another. I would kind of jump around from one thing to the next. But I think, persistence, beating that steady drum, over the course of years is key to, that personal brand building. So
I like that. I do think we're at time, but before we go, is there any last words that you want to say, Paul, either about AI, personal branding, or even just in general to all content marketers out there right now?
Just simply to kind of reiterate what I said, where all of these AI tools that are available to us and more will come, take advantage of them. Learn how to manipulate them and use them to your benefit. I mean, with ChatGPT, there's certain ways you can prompt it to get better information. Right now, I don't know all of the nuances or the ins and outs of that yet. I'm still exploring it. Mainly just kind of playing with it a little bit at this point. Not that dependent on it yet. But I think where that's concerned, that's what you want to do with the other personal branding. Just keep moving steadily, same direction over time. Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
Yep. Okay. I like that. And I want to thank you, Paul, for coming on. This was our first Content Therapy live session, and there's going to be more to come.
Yes.
We are going to be back in a few weeks with even more questions and new topics. I do want to say before we go, in terms of the AI content that we were talking about, we actually do have an event, office hours, with RepCap's very own Mary Ellen. And we're going to be talking about how we're using AI in content without jeopardizing their quality. And I think it's going to be a really great session for everybody who is just starting to use AI or is looking to add AI to their toolkit and start implementing that into their teams. Yes, it's tomorrow at 12. So please, 12 Eastern, 11 Central. Sorry.
Okay. Great. Where can we find out about that? Where is there a link?
We can actually find out about that, I believe, on the RepCap page. But I'm sure we're going to put up a post again on LinkedIn, and then we'll have a big marker link there too. But I do want to say thank you again, Paul, and thank you to everybody who tuned into our first live. We were super excited. I was a little bit nervous, but it worked out. We did it.
No, everything worked out, and we'll do this again soon.
Yes. So thank you everyone for joining in, and we will see you guys in a couple weeks.
Bye-bye.